Hey guys, welcome to the MFGCast. We're live tonight. It's a Thursday night for you listening, watching right now, but eventually you will probably be later on, whatever. We're going to be talking about Orléans, a game from Tasty Minstrel Games. It's a game that you should know about. It's a game that I've been wanting to know about. So I'm going to call this one, I'm going to call this episode because Dan has played this a bazillion times, and I've only got to play it once. But it's going to be an interesting look at Tasty Minstrel Games and their awesome game of Orléans. That right now it's a little hard to get, but once you get your hands on it, it's going to be fun to play. So I'm going to hand it over to Dan, and Dan, you can tell us a little bit and show us a little bit about what Orléans is.
All right, sounds good, man. So one of the other things that you'll know right off the bat is a lot of people call this game Orléans. It's the same thing. It's the difference between a croissant and a croissant.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the things that made Orléans kind of pop up in the zeitgeist again recently is the designer has that new game coming out, Altiplano. And a lot of people noted it was like the bag building mechanic again and stuff like that. And there's not too many games that really have that. The only like usual bag building games are like dice games, like Dice Masters or Quarriers or something. So the fact that this could have probably been a deck builder, but instead they went with like the little chits instead and made it a bag builder. You know, some could view it as gimmicky, but for the game, I think it works perfectly. Right? And so I'm going to flip you guys over to the board for just a moment so you can see some of the beautiful things that this game has to offer. All right. So the board is into two halves, right? We got the map of all the cities and everything, and everyone will start over in Orléans. And then we also have the tracks over here, right? Now you'll notice that this art style probably looks a little familiar, and it's some Clemens Franz work. So instantly, I'm in, right?
No way.
Yeah, right. It's such a base start for me that of course I got to go for it. But the thing that is really fun about this game is I'm going to slide this board up a little bit and show you guys what your player board will look like. Now, what's nice about this game is everyone starts out with this very simple player board. As my camera drifts away, here we go. So this is your player board, right? And it's really simple. Like, I'll even flip it to the other side to make it a little easier for people to understand. So what we got here is you got an area where you can get farmers, you can get traders and workers and seafarers. You can go to the university and gain scholars, and those scholars can help you get monks. And you can travel by ship and by land and build guild halls and like employ some knights to help defend the realm and go to the scriptorium and increase knowledge, right? Now, all these seem like pretty basic, simple areas. And you might look at this board and go, oh, okay, there's, you know, I got like, let's say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different things I can do. That's pretty much the game, right? Except there's a lot more to it than that. Because these little guys here are your minions. These are the people that actually get the job done. So every turn you're pulling these out from your bag, right? So in the beginning, you only got these 4 simple workers in your town. And you go like, ah, man, you know, like, what should I do with these guys? Maybe I'll send these 2 guys over here and I'll get a farmer, right? Now you got another farmer. Then you can like maybe take that farmer and your merchant, and then next turn you seafarer, and they'll be in the castle and you'll get a knight. And then that knight and this other merchant and farmer will go by wagon. Like you start increasing all your moves as you're getting more and more pieces, right? So again, you know, it just seems like, oh, okay, it's like a little bit engine building. I'm just going to be getting some more things, doing some more actions, and that's pretty much all there is to it. But it's even more than that. The tracks over here, there are all these awesome game modifiers. Like down here is the knowledge, and as you go up in this, you gain more knowledge. And in this game, smarts help because that knowledge will help you get even more points at the end of the game. And your knights, because you have a bigger militia, let you have like more at your disposal, so you're drawing more and more chits. The seafarers are going overseas and earning money by going on distant shores, so they'll be getting like 2, 3, 4, 5 coins. The traders bring new opportunities. in the shape of these little tiles here, which are now more actions that you can do. And you add those to your board. So now you're increasing your options. You got the workers over here that can actually help make machinery to make the job easier. And that'll let you cover up spots on your board. So it becomes, again, easier and easier to do these things. Your farmers will start producing more and more, and you'll get wheat and cheese and wine. Because you remember all those times you've seen on the farms, Kurt, where they would be those big wine trees, and the bottles just dangling from the branches, and
and especially the leather at the end. Yeah, I always think of farmers; they're always making that leather,
Yeah, the brocade farms. I mean, we're tripping on them over here. There's just so many; it's ridiculous. On top of that, so again, even with all that, the game has a bit to offer. But then we get to travel. And as you travel around, you might build guild houses and then travel by sea and then obtain this good. And then while you're in the city of Briere, hey, why not? I'll build another guild house. And you start expanding your legions. And again, all this stuff helps add towards your grand total, right? So there's a lot you can do in this game. And if that was it, it would be a pretty involving game. But Kurt, there's always a little more.
Oh, we love
one of your options is the town. We do indeed love more. So on your player board, demands a certain person or people, except for these little spots here, and these are known as town hall. And that's because you can send your people on missions for the kingdom. Like you can build up the city walls, you can work on peace treaties, building cathedrals, founding the Boatman Guild, which I almost misread as finding the Batman Guild, and that would be awesome. They need a vigilante justice expansion. And even here, you'll be earning coins, which are points. You'll be earning like these citizens that will help you earn more points. There's all these things going on. This is like a really involving game. And it has so many parts that are reminiscent to me of various other games. Like, take, for example, the fact that you go to the traders and you're getting new buildings. It has a little bit of that Kalis and Lords of Waterdeep feel. The obtaining all the goods and trying to keep on top of stuff. It has classic Euro, like resource management and acquire, consume, increase. The fact that it's engine building with getting more draws, getting more people, and especially with the gears, engine building to maximize actions. Like if you do it right at the end of the game, you might be doing like 6 actions per turn. All of these things are just an amazing game put together. And what's even more interesting is the game has a ticking clock. There's an event stack. And it starts out like, oh, you can't get any monks. And you're like, oh, whatever, I can't get monks in the first turn anyway. But then there's like things like taxes and pestilence and plague where like people can die and leave your bag forever. You might get taxation or have to feed your people. Or you might start getting income or rewarded for all those guild houses you did, or get paid out for all the knowledge that you've obtained for the kingdom. There's a lot of variety, a lot of options, and for a Euro, a surprising amount of reading your opponents. Knowing when to go for this thing, seeing that there's only 1 gear left in the the workers' foundry, and going like, all right, I need that. But if I take that gear first, they might take that last monk. All right, which is more important? Do I want the gear? Do I want the monk? Like making those decisions. There's a lot inside of this game, and it actually, I think I mentioned it last year. This game pretty much climbs to the top of my list. I think this is like my #1 game. And what's even more impressive is it's not just a board game. It's also almost like its own game system now, because they have 2 other expansions out, Trade and Intrigue and Invasion, that change the game up even more and even more. So there's so much variety, so many like new opportunities, new options. Like the Trade and Intrigue expansion is a nice small one that just gives like new variety, like new tiles to the event deck. So if you're tired of going, okay, I know that there's going to be 3 plague, I know that there's going to be 3 incomes, you can mix that up. You can vary it. You can, like custom control it, whatever. They also add orders now where it's like, oh, by the way, if you go to the city of, let's say like Le Châtre, and you bring a wine and 2 wool there, those things might be worth like 10 points, but this card will actually be worth 17. So it's reasons to travel instead of just like staying in your little cluster and building up and things like that. It's an amazing game system, and even though everyone's all hopped up on Altiplano and they're fiending for the new and they want to try it out, I definitely say it's well worth checking out the game that got him this rep. Would you say you're in agreement, Kurt?
I do. I agree. The one thing that I think is funny about this game is that it's trying to run a town, and boy, if you're not keeping track of all the little things that are going on, you could get lost. So it's like, so basically you're taking all these things, you're taking your farmers, you're taking your knights, you're taking your monks and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, I need to get these guys here and these guys here. And then once you're done with once you're going through your round where you're taking your turns and taking your actions and stuff like that, you're like, oh shit, I forgot to do this. I should have done this one thing where, because there's just so many things going on. It's like, okay, well, I'll send some of my guys out and they'll, fight the plague, which I'm sorry, but if you're trying to fight the plague, you should get more than 2 coins. You should at least get 3 coins, which is the most that you can get. You should at least get 3 coins. Come on, give me a break, people. And, but then, you've got, you try to build those, you use those cogs or whatever to fill up your spaces. Like, I wish that was being my first time playing it. I was like, I wish I would have just stuck with getting those mostly, because it feels like, because this is a game somewhat, it's a worker placement bag pull kind of game. Sometimes you can get kind of screwed on your pulls. And, if you're not careful and you don't have, the right people and you don't have, a few monks at least to kind of help you out, those cogs are perfect because they have that set in stone place in those spots you out True. With what you're trying to do. There's just so much going on in this game. It seems like it seems heavier than it is. And that's the thing that I was kind of surprised when we played this game. I'm like, boy, there's so much to this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, But then as we played it, I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty easy. It's just, that's the hardest about it is trying to figure out what strategy is best for you to win without doing too many things, I feel like. Because because of these tokens, like, you don't always have to spend them right away. You have enough spots where if, say you have, 2 spots left and you're pulling 5 out, well, you don't have to put those 2 guys out. You can just leave them and wait until next time to see if there's a better choice for the next round.
Yes, and with what you were saying about the bag pulls and, like, if you get a bad pull out or 2, or like trying to figure out how to work with what you got. That's one thing about the bag builder that's different than deck builder, where if you like, take for example, I know that you're a fan of like the DC deck builders.
Mm-hmm.
Say you buy a card that is going to give you like 4 power. That card is in your deck, and you're going to see it at some point. The other 4 cards you draw with it might suck, but you'll see it. In a game like this, if you have like 14, 15, 16 chips in your bag and you get a monk, that thing is not going to be your dream answer. You're like, oh, well, now I got a wild card. The monk will be fine. If you're only pulling out 5 chips, that monk doesn't have high chances. And then on top of that, everything you spend goes back in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
So you could actually, if you control your bag really well, you can actually be a fine oiled machine. The problem is you get a couple of things and you're like, oh man, I want those guys. Or you see there's only 2 seafarers left and you're like, oh, I got to grab those boat guys. And then the next thing you know, it's like your bag is actually heavy because you got so many things in there.
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line between, because of course you want to have more people to work out more places, but like you said, if you keep grabbing so many of one guy and so many of another, that's kind of what I had. Some of this, I didn't have enough seafarers, so I was like, oh crap, I gotta get some more of those, and then you realize it's like, okay, another thing is like most every spot So it's like, okay, so maybe I need some more of those farmers. But you may have this thing where it's like, okay, you've got this bag of chips or whatever, but you don't, you might just have too many of one thing to where you want to get to this one spot where you're like, oh no, now I'm screwed, So you have to really, really be careful about that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about this too. It's those interesting choices, and just, again, like when I mentioned before about like reading your opponents, I find it funny because like a few people always feel like they have the fixed answers in this game. Like, oh well, I'm gonna go heavy on the gears and I'll be fine. Yeah, and they got all the gears and everything, but they're not making big moves because if they use the traders, they could have gotten better buildings. And then they're like, oh well, all the traders are gone, so I mean, fine, I guess I'll just still go there for the building. But it's like they don't have enough guys to spread out those actions. Like just the gears isn't an answer, and just the monks isn't an answer. And it's also great when you see somebody get like 2-3 monks and they're like, oh, well, now I'll be fine. And then the plagues come out and then those monks get wiped out. It's like there's never the guaranteed answer in this game. Like it's just about adapting on the fly. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of those games where it's awesome because it gives you multiple options to win. It's not just a set like, okay, obviously I do this, I win. You can think one way, but that doesn't automatically make victory yours.
Yeah, exactly. And like one of the things I love is as you play this game, like because we played it 2 players, and what's nice about it is so as some of you may know, Kurt and I are not exactly next door neighbors, but we were able to play this via Tabletopia, which is a great place to go and play this game. Also, from what I remember, the instructions were only in German on Tabletopia, so you might want to look on BGG for those.
It's a good thing BGG is here.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, it played like a charm on Tabletopia. We had a blast playing it, and you took to it so fast. Like the beauty of the game is, even though there's a million choices, it becomes simple on how to do the things. The beauty and the elegance of the game is finding out what to do with those things. And so as you mentioned, it is hard to acquire. And one thing that I found is if you don't mind waiting a few weeks for shipping, you can go to DLP Games and order the game from Germany. Now, as far as like with shipping and everything else, like I've seen copies of Orleans kind of high. Like I've seen it online for like $100 and stuff like that. And then people are selling the deluxe editions for like $200 to $300, which to me is insane.
That is insane.
I was able to order a copy of the game, the 5th player expansion board, and a nice little twist, which I will quick bring up on camera here. Because I love the idea of pimping out games, Kurt. So one of the options that they have is instead of the regular chits, they actually have meeples, right? Oh, and nice. It's like a little sticker on there. But yeah, and I like that they actually have a front and back. But you can end up like, using these for your board instead. So it's like, like this would be your like farmer here, use the worker there. They're all shaped the same way, so they'll feel the same in the bag, but I figure they have a little more weight to them. And you get like 113 of these, I think it is in total. I got all of that. So let's see, game, 5th player board, the wooden upgrade components. And in addition to that, there's also even upgrades for those wooden gears that I mentioned. The little things to help upgrade your spots. They're also on wooden discs that, now have the gear on that. All that, and I got 2 sets of promo buildings for like 110 or so. So that's compared to getting Orleans, for 100 versus getting the game and all these extra things plus, and like I said, the shipping from Germany was a little high too. I think that was like almost 20 euro, which I think like basically translates to about like 23 or 24 bucks, give or take. But if you don't mind the wait, it's worth doing it. And because as many as our very own T Racy likes to bust my chops about relentlessly. Sometimes I'll go for a different version of a game just because something else is different. These are the meeples in the German version. They are taller. They are shaped differently. I don't know why I think that's so awesome. And also, like a few other little differences, like thinner board, thinner chits, and stuff like that. But a buddy of mine was really looking for the game, and since I was figuring out, I was like, "Oh, I'll go for the wooden meeples too." I mentioned to him the German thing, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know. I kind of want to get a US version." So I was like, "If you want to just buy mine," and he's like, "Yeah, I'll definitely do that." So I decided to get myself the German copy, and I'm beyond pleased with it. And now he also has a 5th player expansion and all this stuff as well. But yeah, it took about a month to come in from DLP Games Direct, which wasn't that bad all in all.
Oh, what's the difference between the deluxe and the regular version of Orleans?
So the deluxe has true. The deluxe has those wooden townspeople, like the meeple style, and as well as the wooden gears. The other difference, and it's something that I'm not a fan of, is so these are the chits for the board, right? Like the goods. And you notice the back has a generic background so you can randomize. They're nice, they're small, they stack, they fit on the squares easily. The deluxe version also has wooden bits for all of those things, like the cheese, the wine, the wool, the hay, and everything. Which sounds cool, except for they'll have different shapes, so you can't really randomize those when you're pulling them out of a bag. The round cheese wheel and the shaped wine bottle and the sprouting wheat feel differently. So they say, like, you use the tiles to randomize and seed the board, then remove the tiles and put the wooden goods on there. I'm like, I'm not doing that shit. Like, I already put the wooden chips on the board. Like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah, it's a little too much time.
I played the deluxe one time and I was like, this is the only thing I'm not a fan of. I'm like, the meeple guys are cool. That's part of the reason why I ordered them, because now, like every other addiction, I'm like, oh, this is what that's like. Well, it let me obtain this immediately. But yeah, the wooden goods I was not a fan of. Everything else, though, I am. But yeah, with the German version, the only other difference is, and this was an odd thing, everyone gets a black bag to put all their bits in and all that. And in the US thing, it's the 4 different colors according to player color. Like a red, blue, green, and yellow bag. That's it.
Yeah, small difference. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But this is the fact that this game has evolved into like so many different things. Like in the Invasion, there's a co-op variant. There's like deadline variants, more or less. That's the term we use. It's basically like you get personalities and you must also complete their goals. Otherwise you still can't win. So even if you get, your place, if you didn't get, say, like the 10 items that this guy needs or whatever, you still don't win. The trade and intrigue offers up a whole new wealth of options. This thing is like, and TMG sometimes almost reminds me of Z-Man games, where it's like, here's the thing that's really cool and really good, we're very proud of, and it's amazing and a lot of people want it. We will never make these things ever again because Tuesday. Like, okay. It's like, Orléans has been getting harder and harder to obtain in the US. But again, you can always go to DLP Games, and order from there. Make sure you also have Google Translate on, because I didn't the first time I was trying to order. So I was like looking back and forth trying to translate the stuff, and I'm like, and then Kim comes by and one clicks it, and now I can read the site. So I felt like an idiot. My complete lack of technology shows quite often at home. But what's nice though is there's always that tabletop simulator, like Tabletopia actually. It's a great way to play the game, and it's flawless on there.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I mean, it's funny because these reviews that we do and stuff like that, and looks at stuff or whatever, it's, I always think, oh, it'll be fun to get people excited about this. And I'm like, we played it. I'm like, damn it, I want it now. And I'm like, oh, well, looks like I'll never be getting it. But I even looked at cool stuff Incorporated Inc., whatever you want to call it. And they have it for like $42.99. It's out of stock, but I added to my wish list. I was like, well, here's to hoping. It may not ever be a thing that ever happens, but you never know.
You know what? Now that you mentioned that, I want to check one of my favorite things, the infamous board game prices, and see what, if anyone, that has it in stock, what it's selling for. Because this is always a little fun measure to see a popularity of a game and whether or not you'll ever see it on your shelf. So now see, if we had the beauty of just broadcasting this via our usual method of the podcast, this would be nice and simple and edited. All right, first of all, it's only in pounds, which is a sign that you're not going to be getting this thing anytime soon. Amazon has it in stock for the completely affordable and totally reasonable price of $95. Let's see. I mean, there's always options on eBay, which, take that as you will.
They found one where it was at $65, which I was like, oh, cool, $65. And I click on it. This is not able to ship to your area. Okay, well, fun. Thanks for putting that out there for me.
It's like, where will you ship to? Nowhere. Yeah, so it's also completely unavailable in Canada as well on most of their major retailer sites. You can get it from eBay in Germany, which at that point, just go to DLP Games. Yeah, outside of that,
another thing that kind of frustrates me too is that their Tasty Minstrel's website, you can't order any games from them. So I understand they want to send it to the company or send it to the game stores to get to sell to other people and stuff like that, to kind of I'm trying to think of,
like to help support the local business. And
yes, exactly. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Jeez. But like you said, this is a game that I remember when it came out, there was a lot of hype on it. There's a lot of people talking about it, like, oh, this game is so much fun and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's cool, And like you said, with Tasty Minstrel and some of these other, these other companies, it's like, it's so weird because there's like your Fantasy Flight Games and like these other companies that when something is good, it will continue to be, published and, remade and stuff like that. And, how many editions and stuff like that. But with these other companies, it's like, I don't understand. It's like, I'm sure there's an explanation for it that I don't know about and I'm being harsh about it. But still, it's like, if this game is so great, why can't we have it?
Yeah, it's funny because it seems like it's one of those things like I both respect and despise with TMG, where it's like, they're not going to re-release the game on Kickstarter again. They're like, we had our Kickstarter, we're always looking towards the next. We're not going to keep putting the same game on every couple of years. It's like, yeah, but how about just once? It's like, at least let people sign a petition for it on your site. And if you get 1,000 people, run the Kickstarter, make that minimum thing. If you don't sell 1,000, it just doesn't happen. And then let those people get Orléans, because this thing is great. It's like, especially now I know this is going to, I think it's Reiner Stockhouse is the designer. This is going to probably shock you. I did not immediately BGG stalk this guy and go well, let's see what else he made and let's find out everything about him, like I do with a lot of the other designers. But the fact that everyone's going so full hog over Altiplano, and one thing that surprised me is that Renegade is putting it out and no Kickstarter, none of that, just coming out stateside this year. No deluxeifications, no dragging, just, oh, this game is it looks great. It's already set. It's already published in Germany. Let's just do this. This game went through a little more extensive, there's definitely quality difference between the German and the US version. Like I said, a little bit of the thickness of the board, a little bit of the thickness of the chits. Outside of that, nothing else. Everything else is the same. Linen finish on the German pieces pretty much, and then like smooth like a matte finish on the US pieces. But I don't see what's stopping a one and done re-release of this game somewhere in the pipeline. You know, it's like the other thing too is the expansions for this game are so readily accessible. Right? I looked online, everyone has them in stock, everyone has them at great prices. But it reminds me of I remember I mentioned this to you like a year or two ago, and we had a good chuckle about it. Cool Stuff Inc. often has an expansion for Arctic Scavengers where it's like the Recon expansion or something, and it's like the MSRP is $30, but it's the deal of the day for $4. And why is it the deal of the day for $4? Because you can't buy Arctic Scavengers. There is no demand for this thing. The only people that can buy it are the people that already have the game. And if they didn't buy it the last 6 times that game is $4, no one's buying it. And it's the same problem with Orléans. Mike Smith, who again helped us out for a few episodes and stuff like that, has looked into getting this for like 4 months now. And every time he calls shops or looks online, it's like, well, we have the expansions. Okay. What am I going to do with them? It's like, man, check out all these pieces I can't use. Isn't it great? Like, it's like, what good does the expansions do? TMG can scoop up a lot of sales of all those expansions that are just sitting on the wayside and like re-release the main game and probably make a decent killing, But I mean, I don't run a game company, so what do I know?
Yeah, exactly. But again, with this game, it's one of those that I think, if you can find it and get your hands on it for the right price, it's well worth it. There's just so much to it, and it's just like when we were talking about Valletta, a few times ago. Like, this game has more meat to it where you're not going to be able to, I feel like you won't be playing the same game twice. I mean, you can have the same strategy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel even if you play the same person 4 or 5 times, you're not going to have the same game unfold, even with the same setup.
People, they'll adapt to something you do, so then you'll have to do it another way, which gives you a chance to see how it works in a different, in different other ways.
Exactly. Like when we were playing, I was noting to a buddy of mine, noted like there's 2 buildings that I always get, and if people let me get those, I usually tend to win. So, getting ready for the episode, me and Kim played some Orléans last night. Kim immediately acquired one of those 2 buildings to make sure I couldn't do my combo. I'm like, all right. It's like, all right, let's try out some different things. And she actually started like a manufacturing strategy. Like, she was pumping out, I think, like wine and brocade. And I was like, all right, I got to do something here. So like I started manufacturing wool so I can get in at least like some goods market. And she was doing good. I started like, adapting, and I started really going through all the different buildings, more and more ideas. And I would probably say like I'm on like probably like about 20 plays of this game by now. I'm going to be running it at Dreamation, which is our local con in New Jersey coming up in February. I'm going to be running a session or 2 of this at the con. And I'm just always interested in seeing like the new way that somebody, starts going about their strategies and pulling out some points and getting some new engines going,
Yeah, that's a good way to kind of notice all those things, because, seeing how other people play, even people that you don't know, will probably bring something to the forefront, which would be great.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'm already looking forward to the next time you and I get to play this.
For sure, especially since I beat you by 3 points.
I feel my God, it's so close. 94 to 97. That's a
yeah.
sliver.
I'll take my wins as I can get them. Actually, it was 100 to 97.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so it was, because I remember I was exactly at 100, which I don't think I've ever scored 100 in anything in my life. Test, whatever.
It's like I got 100 on my tests. Both of them? No, the 2 of them combined.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a
I tried
63
so
on this one and a 20 on that. Let me guess, neither of those were math, were they?
hard. Yeah, exactly. That is definitely true.
But
So if you're looking forward to buying this game, if you can find it on Amazon, help us out a little bit. Go to the MFGcast page or mfgcast.com. Look in the top right corner. If you're in the US, there's the American link for Amazon, and you can buy it as normal. A little shekels come our way. We even have a Canadian link. Can you believe that? Got a Canadian link underneath that. So if you click on that, you can spend your CAD and hopefully find that game if you're not paying like way too much for it. And a little shekels go our way. So help us out there.
And one other thing we have on that link is Charterstone. We have an invader, by the way. One of the other things on that link is Charterstone, which, having just finished the campaign of that, good Lord, hi, having just finished the campaign of that, I can say in all honesty, it is worth every penny. And shockingly, the Amazon price has been better frequently than the Cool Stuff or Miniature Market price. So knowing that you can get Charterstone in 2 days' time with Amazon Prime for a lower price than the major game outlet retailers is amazing, and I highly recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, and we have I'm going to spoil it. We have a verbal agreement with Jamie Stegmeyer to come and talk to us about that once we kind of get through. Me and Tracy need to get through our Charterstone so we can talk about it, all of it.
Yes, you absolutely should. I would say at this point, I think we should wrap this up so you and Tracy can play a game of it tonight.
Yeah. So again, thanks for coming on, watching us. I'm going to put this on. I'll probably put this on as a regular episode too, so people can kind of hear about exactly what Orléans is and why you should get it. So until next time, I'm Kurt,
and this is D. Wyatt.
All right, and we'll see you next time on the MFGcast.